It is the DTF Podcast. It's 9:28 in the AM, Monday, December 12th, Eastern Standard Time Zone, the only legitimate time zone. My name is Rob Dauster. I have with me today Terrence Oglesby, John Fanta, and we were all set to have a fun, entertaining, loose, energetic, typical DTF podcast when T.O. sent us a text with some breaking news this morning. Literally just found out about it no more than about 30 seconds ago. Chris Beard was arrested on, I believe it was a third-degree felony at 4 o'clock in the morning, which would have been about 3 o'clock in the morning, Austin time. It was for, I believe, domestic assault, assault on a family member or household member, and impeding breath circulation, which is a third-degree felony. He was booked at 4:18 a.m. in Austin, which don't have much more information than that. I don't want to speculate too much, but obviously not a good thing.
So my immediate reaction to it is that Texas AD Chris Conte has a very, very deep situation to evaluate here. We'll see what exactly it is that he does. But my guess out of the hopper, my guess, if I'm making a prediction to you guys, is that we'll see something indefinite come down immediately, because he was booked at 4:18 a.m.
Yeah, just to provide a little more clarity. This is
that was 4 hours ago. It was 4 hours ago.
Yeah, just to tell you how immediate all of this stuff is. Norlander, this literally just tweeted by Matt Norlander 30 seconds ago. Austin police responded to a disturbance hotshot at 12:15 a.m. at I don't want to say where it was, but it was the address where I'm assuming Chris Beard lives, and he was charged 4 hours later in the 4 a.m. hour. Del Conte is not commented yet. I don't want to speculate too much on what actually happened there, because I don't think that we have enough information, but I think you're exactly right. Texas plays a game tonight. They have to. Beard cannot coach that game.
No,
he cannot coach that game tonight. I think what you do is you suspend him indefinitely, and then you get to the bottom and figure out all the facts of the situation and what exactly happened, and then you make a decision there. It's a situation where I don't think you can overlook it. You can't sweep it under the rug, especially considering the fact that there were questions about the way that this Texas basketball program handled a similar situation 6 months ago for a freshman on the team named Arterio Morris, who was arrested in June for I think it was misdemeanor assault for a physical altercation with an ex-girlfriend in his hometown of, I believe it was Frisco. So this could be, I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much, but it's something that I think we had to talk about at the open.
I wish I could be like, I'm so scared to say the wrong thing right now.
Yeah, I don't, let's not speculate on
the thing. Well, hold on, because I'm still new, but man,
why
he was goes next?
I mean, here's
who
the
goes
thing.
Next? That's the thing.
The facts are the facts. He was booked with a third-degree felony. He was arrested and charged with assault on a family member early Monday morning. He was arrested and charged with assault on a family member early Monday morning. He shouldn't be coaching anytime soon. You can't do that.
Yeah,
right.
and
I don't. You got to take him out indefinitely until
definitely. And the one thing I will say is this: Texas has invested a ton of resources into Beard and a ton of resources into the future of this program under his leadership. They built the Moody Center with his vision of what that program could end up being. They wanted this guy to be the guy for the next decade. So I don't think the decisions are going to big picture decisions, right? Long-term stuff in terms of is he still an employee at the University of Texas, right? I think that's going to take a long time to work out. You can't do that. You can't. No. You can't be the head coach, be the leader, and then be the face of a university as big as Austin is. You can't do that. Can't do that. So we'll wait for more facts before we figure out what's going on there. But that's kind of the. I thought we needed to address it at the open because Chris Beard is Chris Beard. And I didn't want to have that be something that we just completely ignored on this podcast. So we'll get more facts on that. Check out Field of 68 After Dark tonight when there's more information. It'll be myself, Randolph Childress, and John Henson, and hopefully we'll be able to have know a little bit more of what's going on and have a little bit more information to provide. All right. Can we talk about happier stuff now? Because it actually was
that sucked. That sucks to talk about. Good God. That
Yeah.
stinks.
I think the only thing I would say is, we hate doing this, but
This
we're
part
talking to
sucks.
everybody in real time here. So as we're doing this podcast, like, guys, we're reacting to this story as you're reacting to this story as we do this pod. So
Yep.
I love being positive, but
Let's move on. Let's talk about the games. Let's talk about the game this weekend, because I don't want to. The farther we go down this rabbit hole, the more that we're going to be speculating, and I don't want to speculate on stuff, because by the time people are going to be hearing this, there's probably going to be more information out. So I'll end it on this. Field of 68 after dark, 11 o'clock tonight. Myself, Randolph Childress, John Henson. We'll have more info. We'll know more. We'll be able to talk about this a little bit more coherently. All right. Wild weekend in college basketball. I want to talk, before we get into kind of the first month superlatives from this past season, I think we have to talk about some of the games from this weekend. Indiana lost to Arizona in a game where Arizona looked about as impressive as I think you can look. Maryland lost to Tennessee in a game that looked about as unimpressive on the offensive end as either team could possibly look. Both of those teams badly needed a guy that could shoot it like John Fanta. But I think the biggest story from that weekend was Alabama down by 15 on the road at Houston, best defensive team in college basketball, toughest team in college basketball, 7,000 people in the Fertitta Center, and they outscored Houston 42-21 with 4 freshmen on the floor for the final 15 minutes of that game in what I would argue will probably end up being as impressive, if not the most impressive win from any team that we see throughout this college basketball season. T.O., I am going to you first on this one. You don't want to talk about domestic violence, but I think that we can talk about the way that two teams play in the state of Texas. So
solid transition. Very good transition.
I'm going to you first on this one, my man. What do you make of Alabama? What do you make of the SEC? What do you make of Nate Oates Ball Club? They're pretty good.
Very deep. You look at who played the best off that team. Noah Clowney was a dude. And that's another freshman. Everybody's talking about Brandon Miller, and Brandon Miller is as good as advertised, and they did a nice job of shutting him down. He only ended up with 8 points on 0 of 8 shooting. 8 points on 0 of 8 shooting against the toughest team in the country, and they just kept throwing bodies at you. Did Alabama. What an another impressive win. They've won ugly. They've won pretty. Like Alabama and Nate Oates, that team's as good as advertised, and we put them in the top 4. I think that was a consensus feel for all 3 of us of the SEC. Like, they could very well win it too. Noah Clowney, he's from Spartanburg. He's about from 45 minutes away from where I'm from, and he was the least heralded recruit out of that entire lot, and he ends up with 16 and 11. So, like, there's just so many different guys for this Alabama team, and you're able to go down. Is it Fertitta or Fertitta?
Whatever it is,
I think it's Fertitta.
There's got to be an L. There's got to be an L in there somewhere now, T.O.
I'm a fan of the Fertitta, but that is a solid play. That is a tough place to play, and they went in there against the toughest team in the country and came out with a win after last year. And you remember that whole situation where Alabama won.
Mm-hmm.
And like was it a goal 10? Was it not a goal 10?
Alabama
just loaded again. And it's a guy that nobody really talked about heading into the season. Noah Clowney, Dorman High School's finest, or at least out of that freshman class last year. I mean, really impressive performance.
Yeah, Fanta, I want to know how you didn't react to T.O. saying I like the Fertitta.
I liked your pronunciation.
I tried to keep a level face on that one because T.O. said enough to both of us that
one's not surprising, right?
That one's not as surprising.
You guys should hear what he says off the record.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's as impressive of a win that we've seen this season in college basketball, and it has unlimited mileage, literal unlimited mileage. You tweeted it on Saturday and summed it up so well for Alabama to be down in the second half? 17
15
points.
It was 44-29 with 17 minutes left. They outscored them 42-21.
Incredible sequence of events. And for Alabama offensively to do that against any top 25 team would be pretty impressive. They did it against the toughest team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That is super impressive. And it goes to show you this, that Nate Oates is one of the best program builders in America. He's done a remarkable job with Alabama. He has elevated that program so well since he took over. Remember, he took over for Avery Johnson. During a time where Alabama, frankly, guys, had no relevance in men's basketball. And you knew when they hired Oates, that was a praised hire, and for good reason. Noah Clowney is big time. I mean, he is a tough you-know-what. And I thought he rose to the occasion time and again in this game to go for 16-11 against Houston's front court is really impressive. You know, he gives Alabama. If you think Alabama is soft, or if you thought, oh, they just did it with offense. No, to beat Houston, you've got to have a toughness factor, and they out-rebounded Houston 44-39 in this game. But you know, when I look at it, guys, here's the thing with Alabama: they only had 9 assists in this game. And what I mean by that is, it's really hard to flow against Houston. It's really hard to be fluid in your offense as a team. That's hard
such
to play.
A great point.
You know what beats Houston? Not team play. At a certain level, to beat them, you've got to have some individual playmaking. And that's not a slight on Alabama as a team. They got a really good team. But to beat Houston, you've got to have some individuals step up. That's what happened in this game.
Yeah, there was a toughness level there. The last point I want to make on Indiana, and then we can Alabama, and then we can kind of move on from there. Javon Quinterly didn't play a second in the second half, not 1 second. And if you go back and you watch, he's not complaining about it. He's not whining about it. He's not moping. He's not sulking on the sideline. He's the guy that's there clapping everyone on, being like, Coach, leave Jaden in there. He's kicking their ass, right? Leave Jaden in there. He's the guy that's winning this battle right now. And I think that is, one, a very different mindset than we saw from last year's Alabama team, right? I think that there was a little bit more, I need to get mine on last year's Alabama team. And that's exactly what we saw out of the group. Nate Oates, for 2 years, every time I've talked with him about his group, has raved about Herb Jones and his ability to kind of put the team in front of himself, to care more about, this is going to be the most cliche shit you ever heard, but the name on the front of the jersey as opposed to the name on the back of the jersey, right? And I think that's what we have out of this group this year. All those guys care about winning and care about Alabama, and understand that if that happens, and if good things happen to the program, good things are going to happen to them individually. So I think
also happens when when somebody clearly won a battle.
Well, no, but here's the thing: Javon Quinterly, he's not. I don't want to slander the kid, right? I'm not trying to come at him, but he's not the kind of guy that coming into this season, I would have sat there and said, I bet he's going to be okay playing 13 minutes and letting a freshman go in there and star on the road against the number 1 team. And he is. Credit to him, right? The fact that he actually was able to kind of let that happen and let it happen around him I think is a very good thing. And it's when you have buy-in like that from your group, I think that's really important. Just one note on Houston. Marcus Sasser really has not looked right at all this season. I think he's averaging 16 points, but he has not looked like the guy that we all thought was going to be the first team All-American, best guard in college basketball. I know that he's still dealing with a shoulder thing. There were questions about whether or not he was going to play in this game. So I'm not worried about Houston at all. They are who they are, and they do what they do. And I think this game might have been a little bit different if Tremont Mark did not get a horrible 5th foul call on a flop from I think it was your boy Clowney that actually flopped, T.O. So
Not shocked.
Yeah, credit to him on those South Carolina guys. Right?
Hey man, we tried so hard to get Clowney to play with Julian Phillips on AAU. That would have been nuts, but he ended up going down. He ended up playing for the Celtics.
Yeah, that's a perfect transition. Let's talk about your boy Julian Phillips, because Tennessee was up by as many as 18 points against Maryland on Sunday afternoon at the Barclays Center. Almost gave it all the way back. Maryland had a couple shots to tie the game late down the stretch. Final was 56-53. T.O., that was a hideous basketball game that set the sport back at least 2 decades.
Hey, Tennessee's good for 1 a year. They're good for 1 a year like that.
Stop bringing them to New York City.
Yeah, they're in New York.
Oh,
New York's a bad spot. New York's a bad spot.
No more games in New York.
You're
Last
right.
time they were in New York, they went to overtime with Texas Tech and won a game in the 40s. It was 37-37, headed into double overtime. Like, what are we doing?
We
Tennessee.
were waiting for Villanova, Syracuse. Remember the chorus of boos?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. They went to overtime and everybody booed them.
Stay in Knoxville. Stay in the South. You score in the South. You come to New York, you don't score. Stay down south.
Stay south of the Mason-Dixon Rocky Top.
No, it's a good win, man. Tough team. They guard.
Yeah, they guard. Both teams guard. And Tennessee took off. Defensively, they were causing all sorts of turnovers, holding Maryland, I want to say, in the teens from the field. And then in the second half, Kevin Willard figured them out. That's what happened, guys. Like in the second half, Kevin Willard figured them out.
They started running that Spain pick and roll. Like that, is that what you call it? What do you call it, T.O.? When you set the back screen for the roll man? Yeah, I call it Spain pick and roll. They got that about five straight possessions down the stretch.
That's the nomenclature, I guess. But yeah, Spain pick and roll, and then you get some guys out on an island, and you get that 5-man stuck. So what ends up happening, you get some mismatches. But I digress. This was more kind of an indictment on Tennessee's here today, gone tomorrow offense. Like that's a scary thing. Guys, when Tennessee's playing well offensively and they're turning offense into defense and turning people over, like they can beat anybody. It's when this game slows down to a crawl, how are they going to find shots? That's concerning. Now, I did and still do think that Julian Phillips changes things for them, because typically he's a guy that can get to the free throw line. He's a guy that can make some tough shots when you need to and give them another element. But Julian was 1 for 10 from 2. Like, that's got to be better. And I hate saying that because he's my man, but like you, at the same time, like you have to have somebody able to create something whenever you're dealing with a team like Maryland at the end of the game that's really sitting down and guarding.
Mm-hmm. Fanta?
Well, I think that this was an example of the concerns surrounding Tennessee offensively, and an example of why the Volunteers have failed to have the major March breakthrough under Rick Barnes. And I know that it's a game in December. I know a lot of people might say, well, how could you conclude that? Because this has come up before with the Vols, where they go through offensive droughts. And I just look at them. They're hard to trust, guys. They're hard to trust at times, because I think they play very, very hard. I think that they're a together group. But in this game, Santiago Vescovi goes 2 for 11 from the field. 2 for 11 from the field. Key goes 2 for 6 in this one, and Ziegler goes 5 for 13. And the point that I'm trying to make is that as good as that backcourt can be when they're meshing, which we've talked about, T.O., we've talked about that backcourt, what it can be when they're at their best, what it was in the preseason, which now, guys, I kind of think differently about their commanding win over Gonzaga in the preseason. Like, now seeing some of the results, it doesn't come all that shocking the way they won that game. Mm-hmm. But they're just not a great shooting team. They're not a great shooting team. And Phillips 1 for 10 in this game. You almost look at some of the numbers, you're like, how did they win this game?
Well, it's because they guard, man. They guard. Like,
the defense travels. Yeah, like, even when they won the Texas Tech game last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
The defense travels. A lot of teams' defense travels. But to win, big picture, to win in March, your offense has to travel. You can't just be a great defensive team. Okay? Ask Tony Bennett how that worked out for him one year. And then the next year, won Virginia national championship? Individual plays.
Yeah.
Individual plays. Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy making individual plays. Tennessee's got some playmaking.
When you think about it, that Virginia run was the luckiest run in the history of national title winners, man. They were down 14 in the first half to was it Liberty? Who they playing? Whoever was in the first round.
Everybody, they were kind of getting over the jitters.
Yeah, it was Gardner Webb. They were down 14 in the first half to Gardner Webb. They smacked whoever they played in the second round, but in the Sweet 16, I want to say it was Oregon, and they were down 6 with like 4 minutes left in that game. In the Elite 8, they probably should have lost to Purdue, I believe it was. In the Final Four, they needed Kyle Guy to get fouled and make 3 free throws with like 1.6 seconds left on the clock. And then they needed a game-tying 3 from Deion. They could have lost every single one of those games. They could have lost all 4 of their last games in that tournament run. Sorry, not to cut you off, Fanta, but that was if you put Virginia losing to number 16 seed UMBC in 2018 and then went to that run in 2019 to the national title and made that a movie, I'd be like, that shit, come on, man. Come on, that's Hollywood building up what an actual NCAA tournament run looks like. Sorry, I got tired.
But the defense also gives you a baseline that to kind of get back to get back to Tennessee and to incorporate what you said about Virginia. It gives you a baseline. So like if you're able to build up big enough of a difference, they're just so big and so physical. Like they're going to be able. They're going to be able to win ugly. You're going to be able to win ugly some games. And the biggest thing is who's their guard that can. Like Vescovi, they just.
How are they different? That's my point.
That's the thing. That's what I meant. That's what I was hoping that. I still think Julian Phillips could be that guy, but they have to have they have to have more production out of him. And guys, let's keep in mind, like we can overreact all we want. They won. They still won, and it's you got to find a way to squeak one out ugly sometimes, and they did it. So
they got Arizona Saturday.
That's going to be a battle. Gosh, big bodies against big bodies. What a great matchup.
Woo, it's good.
Let's talk about Arizona.
I think it's at Arizona.
Oh, it is because it's the return of the game last year. That was a great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about Arizona.
In Tucson. Biggest game out in Tucson in what feels like a little bit. I mean, that like UCLA last year, that's McHale Center. Awesome environment. That'll be fun Saturday night.
Yeah, let's talk about Arizona because they picked up a pretty impressive win over Indiana. Indiana made a run in the second half, but for the most part, Arizona was in control for the majority of that game. What do you, Fanta? What do you make of this Arizona team? I talked about them quite a bit on Saturday night after the game. I think that they are incredible offensively, and it's baffling to me how a team that plays 2 big men, neither of whom can have even attempt to shoot threes, can be this good on the offensive end of the floor. It's really something to watch.
Saturday night was the difference between a Sweet 16 team and a Final Four team. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think Indiana's a good team. I think Arizona's a great team. And you've got to give Tommy Lloyd immense credit for what he's been able to do with 2 post players.
Right.
The duo of Azuolas Tubelis and Omar Ballo have been sensational together, gentlemen. They play off each other. They run the floor. They make things happen. And it has basically become automatic, Robin Terrence, that Tubelis and Ballo are combining for close to 40 points per game and close to 20 rebounds per game. This isn't a one-off. It's happening pretty much game in and game out. And there's a structure to that. I think that Tommy Lloyd, last year, the narrative was, well, he inherited great talent. And there's no question that he did. But he's gotten the most out of it in the process, in the way that they're playing. And honestly, when we were talking about the year of the big in college basketball in the preseason, we weren't necessarily focusing on Arizona. They weren't one of the focal points of this discussion. They're the embodiment of year of the big more than any other program in the country right now.
And Headband Kerr. Don't forget about Headband Kerr.
Of course, who has evolved, guys. You got to give Kerr credit. He has evolved as a player. The things we knocked him on last year, he addressed. Hats off to you, Kerr Kriisa, because you developed in college basketball. And as a result, the Wildcats can win it all.
They can. And well, keep in mind, Kerr had 6 turnovers. So, but he had 7 assists. He's knocking down shots.
Better.
Better. Right. But he's not as emotionally crazy as he was last year. I think that's obviously a point of emphasis for him. Like he's really reined it in. And I say that like tongue in cheek, because I love a guy that's fired up and fiery and wants to compete. But if you're the point guard on a team,
It reminds you of someone.
Yeah. See, I love that stuff. Like, I like it when a guy's passionate, and this really brings the energy every game. But like, if you look at their team, like, my biggest concern about Arizona was their depth. And yet Adama Ball comes in, plays 13 minutes, bangs in 3 threes. Henry Vassir, like, he comes in and gives good minutes. Like, Cedric Henderson is a nice player for them. I worry about their depth a little bit, but those two bigs, man, like, there's such a counter to everything that everybody's doing right now. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, so you're a curveball, and if those guys are able to guard out on the perimeter, like, they're really tough to match up with on the other end, because they're so big, physical, and play hard. Now,
and then just a real quick point on that, they don't have to be great defensively either, because Arizona is just so good on the offensive end of the floor. Like, you have to run with them. They're going to put up 80, 85, 90 points on you, right? So you have to be able to score with them. You don't have to be great defensively if you're Arizona.
Best offensive team in the country. It's easy when you shoot 61% from the field.
Yeah, and the reason why I think it works is twofold. One, they move so much offensively that it's very difficult to kind of be in position to be in position when it comes to being help side or weak side or getting those double teams in. And the other part of it is both Ballo and Tubelis are great high-low passers, great entry feed passers. And specifically Tubelis, like, that dude's got the quickest release of any post player I've ever seen. Like, we talk about, I think I've mentioned this before, but we talk about quick releases when it comes to 3-point shooters a lot. Like, that dude catches it and it's up.
Yep.
Catches it and it's gone.
You know what's crazy is they're playing two bigs and they're still fourth in the country in adjusted tempo. They're playing two bigs and they're still that fast. Like, and everybody's wants these stretch fours and versatile floor spacers and all this stuff, and Arizona's just doing it their way. And you're going to have to go back and basically rewrite your game plan to how you're going to guard them. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it hard, because you want to be fast, because they're still playing fast. So defensively, it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Like, what do you do? Like, Arizona's legitimate national title contenders, and they're shooting 63.5% from two.
Yeah, think about it. They're legitimate national title contenders. They lost Ben Mather and they lost Dalen Terry a year earlier than anyone thought they were going to lose them, and they lost Christian Koloko, and it doesn't matter.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, to hash on Indiana real quick, the fact that Trace Jackson Davis, like, this is what everybody's concern is with Indiana. Right, because like, he's 4 for 10 from two, and he ends up fouling out against really big dudes. So like, ideally, what would you like him to do against those guys? Be able to hit a jump shot. Cool. And it just has never really come. Now, he's been wildly effective for the most of his career, and he's an All-American because of it. But this is kind of the hang up of like, why hasn't he been able to go earlier? But Indiana, I think you hit it right on the head, Fanta. Sweet 16 team. I think they're there. Yep. And that's good. That's very good.
Yep. Yes. All right, let's get into the first month superlatives. We have 8 of them that we're going to roll through here. I got the timer out, guys. This is old school DTF. I got the timer out. We're going to be ready to go. 4 minutes per topic, because otherwise we can spend 20 minutes on each one of these things if I let us get going. So I'm going to open it up. T.O., we're going to you first. The most surprising team in college basketball this year is?
I picked 2 just because I'm an overachiever, and you figured I would anyway. So they're UConn. To be honest, guys, we thought they were going to be good. We didn't know they were going to be number 1 in the country at KenPom good. I think that's a fair assessment. Donovan Clingan, I saw a sign the other day. It was Kling Kong. That was awesome. What a great sign. Great sign. He is a game changer. Imagine at your 5 position going from Adama Sanogo to 7'2" mobile Donovan Clingan. It's hilarious. Embarrassment of riches.
I had a coach tell me the other day that they are better with Clingan on the floor than they are with Sanogo on the floor, which is like kind of a scary proposition.
Because like who like Sanogo is ridiculously good. Mm-hmm. And then now Clingan adds another element, and they're different. They're very different in how they can operate, right? Because he's more of a lob threat. He's not going to demand the ball, yada, yada, yada. The other team, hey, man, Mississippi State got another good win last night on the road at Minnesota. My man Tolu Smith is as good as advertised. And I said it tongue-in-cheek earlier this year, whenever we did the opening thing, like Drew Timme would be Tolu Smith if he played in the SEC. And I was joking. But then you go back and look at his statistics, unreal. Like he's averaging damn near a double-double, and he continues to be the go-to guy on that team, on a team full of big athletes who really board the Christians Express, perfectly suited in Starkville.
Yep. The Tolu Smith is currently 6th in the KenPom Player of the Year standings. Drew Timme is 3rd. So you know what?
I sent that, dude. Hey,
I think Hummel owes you an apology. Fanta.
There's nothing better than being right on accident when it comes to podcasts.
Oh, Fanta, who you got? Most surprising team in the country?
Well, to keep the game going and not repeat with anything, I totally echo what Terrence said. I would have never thought Mississippi State would have a number next to their name at this stage of the season, and they absolutely do. I am going to go with 2 teams from the state of Wisconsin. I'm going to start with the Badgers. They've surprised me. I wasn't sure after Johnny Davis just how good they would be, and they beat Iowa on Sunday, 78-75 in overtime. The latest case of Tyler Wall, who has just grown
good player.
As a player. He's a really good player, folks. And it's not always pretty. It's not sexy. They don't do things in a flashy way in Madison. I'm all about that. I'm a cheese curds and beer guy, and that's how they play. They get up in you defensively. They make you work for what you're going to get. And it's not glamorous, but it doesn't need to be. And they sort of embody Big Ten basketball to a T, but it's a successful form, at least in the regular season. And I think that the freshman Connor Esigian has given them a nice burst, like the type of burst that they needed by losing Johnny Davis and by losing Brad Davison. Like Brad Davison was in college for 10 years. So they had to find somebody that could be in his first year of college, and they found Esigian, and he's done very nice. So now he'll be at Wisconsin for 10 years. He's going to be
Esigian shooting 47% from 3.
Amazing.
47% from 3. As a freshman, they're 2-0 in the Big Ten, and he hasn't missed a free throw all year.
Chucky Hepburn's been excellent as well. So the Badgers are 1. Marquette is 2.
Oh.
Marquette was picked 9th in the Big East. They were picked to finish 9th in the Big East. The Big East has not had a strong start to the season. So the Big East needed somebody to step up, and Marquette has stepped up. They win at Notre Dame on Sunday. They beat Baylor 2 weeks ago. The Golden Eagles are an NCAA tournament team under Shaka Smart, and I did not foresee that coming. You know why? They didn't get significantly better in terms of transfer portal additions in the offseason. They're good.
I can't believe neither of you guys said Purdue. Who had Purdue as a top 5 team in America? We didn't even have him as a top 5 team in the Big Ten.
I think they were top 15.
We didn't have them as a top 5 team in the Big Ten. They're a top 5 team in America.
Did you have them in top 15, Terrence?
I definitely did not. All right. The most disappointing team in college basketball is, I think we all are going to agree on this one. So, Fance, I'm going to you first.
Well, I'm different. So we all know who it is, but I'll save you guys It's
North Carolina. I don't want to
to
talk North Carolina though. So let's talk. If you got someone else, bring them up.
Dayton.
I want to talk North Carolina.
Dayton.
I know you do, T.O. I know you do, T.O.
I'm very disappointed.
ACC guy dancing on the grave of the Tar Heels. Anybody surprised about that?
No.
Fanta, go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off.
Finish Fanta.
I thought Dayton could be a top 30 team in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Injuries have decimated them.
They've been very disappointing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they're off to a disappointing start to the year. And like I thought when we were talking with Anthony Grant in the preseason that they would have what it took to have a good showing at the Battle for Atlantis, really have a strong season, and it just hasn't happened. It has not happened, and I'm with you on the injuries part of it, but for the Flyers to really be out of the picture, tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
tough.
And it's not better for him either because those 2 guards got hurt at Battle for Atlantis. And I'll be honest, guys, like I think we overestimated what Deron Holmes is. He's a good player. Is he an NBA long-term player? Like a lot of people were saying, he's a good player. I'm not sold quite there. North Carolina is the most disappointing. They did look better last game. I know it was Georgia Tech, but they played with pace. They tried to share it. Guys, I just feel like they just had so many like energy zapping behaviors at the beginning of the year. They didn't move the ball. They complained a lot. But last game they put Seth Trimble in. That ball started to move more, and they were playing with more energy. So I'm hoping they get right because I feel like college basketball and the ACC in particular is better when Carolina's good. So
no doubt about it.
They have the potential to be good. They're just some adjustments needs to be made, but it looked like they addressed some of those things in their latest win. So we'll see how that continues to go. They just have to keep moving the ball. Like they're inserting some different different players in the lineup. And I think that's going to inject some energy, and hopefully that continues.
There were two that I have written down that we haven't talked about yet. I did not include Villanova or Michigan State in this conversation because I think their issues have been the unavailability of players, and I don't want to ding guys too much for injuries. So I went with Creighton and Florida. I thought Creighton was going to be like a top 5 to 7 team in America coming into the season. We saw their issues shooting the basketball and what that can do to them offensively, and the loss to Nebraska. They didn't have Ryan Kalkbrenner against BYU, and we saw the issues of what that could do to them defensively when you don't have that rim protector and that anchor. It has not quite clicked yet for Creighton, and I still think that they can get there because if you look at all the pieces on that roster, it makes sense. But if they're not shooting the ball well, like they just don't have a chance. It's the bottom line. You can have all the guards and playmakers in the world. If you're not making jump shots, you're not going to be able to win games because teams can scheme against you. The other is Florida. And maybe I was just a little bit too high on the Gators coming into the season, just based off of the way that their roster was built. But Kyle Lofton has not been that guy. Like he's not even starting for him now. I thought he was going to be an all SEC caliber player, and he has not been. And then their 3 wings just haven't made the leap I thought that they would make. Kawasi Reeves, Will Richard, and Alex Fudge. 2 of those guys aren't starting now. So Florida, I still think they have a ceiling where they can get to a certain place where they can be really good, but at this point, they're very limited.
Yeah.
All right.
And they're playing guys. Alex Fudge. Are we out of time?
Did you hear the alarm, Tio? I like her. He's like, are we out of time? I'm going to keep going anyway.
No, I didn't hear the alarm. That's why I'm asking. Did the alarm go off?
Yeah, the alarm went off. What you got to say.
Alex Fudge averaged like 2 points a game last year, and Kyle Lofton had some numbers that he played like 47 minutes a game for St. Bonaventure. So
fair enough.
It is what it is.
All right. The unranked team that you are either still in on or that you think has not quite broken out yet this season. Can I go first on this one? I'm going to go first on this.
Yeah, you haven't gotten to talk.
I'm going to go first on this one, and I'm going to say that it's Villanova. I'm still in on Villanova. After seeing what Cam Whitmore has done in his first 2 games back, seeing some of the shots that he can make, seeing some of the ways that he can play with the ball in his hands, seeing just, that his all of the stuff that we saw him do in was it the U19s that he was playing in this summer? All the stuff that we saw him do in that U19 tournament, it's translated to the college basketball level. Now they've done it against BC, and I can't remember who the other team was that I think it was Oklahoma, right? So it's not like he is doing it against, UConn or Houston or Tennessee or one of the best teams in the country. But his transition to college basketball has been better than I thought it was going to be, quicker than I thought it was going to be. And I think that Villanova with him in the fold is better. And I think that Justin Moore coming back will make that team. All of a sudden you have a really, really good 5 if Justin Moore is even 75% of the guy that he was before the Achilles injury. So I'm still in on Villanova. Fanta, go ahead. Is that a penny?
Is that Lincoln?
Hardaway. I'm in on Memphis, even though they don't have a number next to their name.
Oh, Penny Hardaway. Okay, there you go. All right. That took me a minute, man. That took me a minute. I got to drink a little bit more coffee. That's how you know it's been an early morning.
I thought you were going Lincoln, Nebraska.
No,
I didn't know where you were going there.
Good one though. No, yeah. I kept you thinking there.
Thanks.
I pulled out a penny for Penny Hardaway and Memphis, who I am very in on. And the way you prompted it, Bobby D, was the unranked team that you're in on. I'm going to go with the Tigers because Kendrick Davis just changes so much for that team. His performance over the weekend against Auburn, 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. And guys, Memphis knows who they are. DeAndre Williams is a grown-ass man.
Dude, my age.
Exactly. He's Terrence's age. I'm in on you, Tigers.
He's actually older than you, dude. He's actually older than you, Fanta. DeAndre Williams is older than you.
Yeah. Folks, last year we talked on this pod. I was out on Memphis, did not like them. I didn't like what I was seeing. I like what I'm seeing from this team. I think they've grown. I think defense is a constant with them. Guys, they're going to – I don't know if they will – I think Houston will win the American. I think Memphis will pick off Houston in the American. I've got a gut feel there. I like the Tigers. They're the firm second-best team in the American. They're going to get ranked because I think they're going to keep winning. I think they're just starting. Guys, I'm buying stock. And I think Memphis is a team capable of being in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Capable. Because they're tough as nails, T.O. And Davis having point guard play now at Memphis changes so much of what they can do. They now have a real identity. This could be the year where the Tigers really are back on the map here. I mean back on the map as in not just coming close in their second round game against Gonzaga like they did, but I think they've got a nice resume blooming. I like the Tigers. I'm bullish on Memphis.
Yep. T.O., you got about 45 seconds here. Go ahead.
Mike Young of Virginia Tech.
Yeah, buddy.
What are we doing? How are they still not ranked? They won the ACC. I was watching our man Sweeney talk about, they could win the ACC. They already won the ACC. They won it last year, Sweeney. They won it last year. And they got hot at the right time, but the ACC champion is the tournament champion. I feel like that needs to be pointed out. Secondly, they have dudes, and I feel like I've poured that on thick. Sean Padula, 16.9 points per game. Grant Vasily, 14.6. Justin Mutt's doing everything. He's averaging 13, 8.5, and said 36 assists on the year. Like, it's a team that moves the ball. It's a team that doesn't turn it over.
Did you see your boy?
They're hard to guard.
Did you see your boy Hunter Couture dunk on who were they playing? It was
the World. He dunked on the World.
He dunked on the World, man. I did not see that coming from him, and two, like that dude can score.
You don't think he's a great athlete?
I did not see him dunking on an entire front line for whoever it was. So.
He's very good. They beat
you hear that one, T.O.?
Yeah, the crap out of Dayton. Played well against Oklahoma State, beat North Carolina, Minnesota. Like, they've had some really good wins. Beat a Penn State team that's good. And they're showing that they're good. The only loss is at Charleston in the finals of the Charleston Classic, which was an away game on steroids.
By 2 points against a team that ranks top 100 on every metric that matters.
Bingo. So it was a tough place to play, and that's their only loss. Yep. They could win the ACC again. Notice I say again.
Yep. All right. This one's going to be tough. This one, I'm putting you guys on the spot on this one. Because of the way that I'm about to phrase this question. I want the top 10 team that is completely, totally, and utterly fraudulent. T.O., I'm putting you on the spot, man. Walk up, plop down to the hot seat, and let's go. The top 10 team that is totally, utterly, and completely fraudulent.
This is important that I picked this team at 8 a.m. this morning. But my team is Texas. Like, how unfortunate, gentlemen, how unfortunate that that's who I picked. And the reason I picked them is because all their massive wins have been at home. All their massive wins have been at home. They play on a neutral floor against Illinois and they get beat by 7. They're the number 1 ranked team in the country at home, on the road, in a neutral spot. How are they going to do? They haven't had an away game yet, guys. They've had a semi-home against Northern Arizona, and they've had a neutral court game against Illinois. They haven't played an away game. They don't play an away game until New Year's Eve at Oklahoma State. So that's my biggest concern. They're guarding, but the Moody Center is a place that is very difficult to play, and it's going to be a great home court advantage. But what an unfortunate time to pick Texas.
Fanta, go ahead.
It's Tennessee. It's Tennessee for me. Even though they beat Maryland on Sunday, I look at this team and I'm unsure on the offensive end at times what exactly it is. that they're doing. And when you look at Olivier Kamwa and Julian Phillips, like, to me, they've got the physicality. They're going to defend you. Their backcourt is something that can be hit and miss at times. It just can be, gentlemen. And on Sunday, Zakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi just had trouble meshing. They had trouble finding ways to produce offense when the going got tough. Did Maryland have something to do with it? Yes. We didn't even mention Maryland as one of the surprises nationally.
Yeah.
They've been surprising. I mean, nobody saw them as a team that would be ranked in the top 15 of the country. And they'll move out now because they lost 2 games, but they're still a really good team. Like, I've had trust issues with Tennessee before, and I still have those trust issues with the Volunteers now. So I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Yep. I agree with you on Texas, T.O. I don't trust their backcourt fully quite yet. And I have questions about a team that builds themselves as a defensive menace that doesn't have that level of rim protection. Right. I think that's a red flag to me. But I'm gonna mix it up and I'm gonna say Kentucky. I don't know how it works when you don't have that guy offensively, right? When you don't have someone that you could just give the ball to and know that you're going to get a good one, where you kind of give them the rock and say, all right, go make something happen here. I love the idea of having your best player be a guy that's kind of a glorified role player, but is what I think Oscar Tshiebwe is. I don't think that's not a knock on him. He's not a Drew Timme offensive weapon. He's not a Hunter Dickinson offensive weapon. He's an elite offensive rebounder. He can do stuff on the defensive end of the floor. He's exceptional at what he does, but he's not a guy that you give it to and have you go get one, right? That was the issue that we saw against Michigan State. Don't fully trust their backcourt. I have concerns about playing him and Wheeler together. I think that or Wheeler and Tshiebwe together, 2 guys that can't really shoot. And I don't know if Jacob Toppin realizes that, like, he's not Paul George yet. He might get there, but I don't think he realizes he's not Paul George yet. So to me, I think Kentucky as a top 10 team right now is probably a bridge too far for me to get to. And I would say that even with the injury to Trevon Brazile, I think that they're probably the 4th best team in the SEC at this moment. All right, next up. Yo, I'm going to you first on this one. And I'm going to be really disappointed if your answer is not what I'm hoping it's going to be.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Because the breakout star that we're not talking enough about nationally is
Tolu Smith.
Yeah, buddy.
We're not talking about him enough, man. His numbers are outrageous. And guys, he can really play. Like, this is not some situation where it's just inflated numbers on a bad team. Like, this is a good player on a really good team who is a legit, bona fide, low-post threat in the Southeastern Conference. He could very well be the best 5-man in that league. And that's saying a lot, but he very well could be. He's 6th in the country in KenPom and Player of the Year ratings. He deserves it. And, man, his numbers are outlandish. And he just has a feel. He can pass the ball. He is a really, really nice player. If this were 15 years ago, just like a lot of bigs, if this were 15 years ago, we'd be talking about a top 15 pick. It's just not 15 years ago. Like, this is a legit dude at 6'11", 255 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Fanta?
Well, I'm going to Happy Valley. Jalen Pickett at Penn State. Jalen Pickett is a fun player, immensely talented on the offensive end. Guys, he's got to be the only player in the country doing this right now. If there is one other, please tell me who it is. Jalen Pickett's averaging 16 points, 8 rebounds, 7.5 assists. If we round up, it's 8. It's 8. Yep. He's averaging 16, 8, and 8. He's shooting 48% from the field. I don't know if another player in college basketball doing that. It's rare. It's rare to see a guy averaging close to a triple-double. 6'4", senior guard from New York, big-time scorer, big-time shooter, the engineer for Micah Shrewsbury's team, and he could be the reason Penn State makes the NCAA tournament come March. The Nittany Lions are that good. And I'll tell you what, going into Illinois and beating the Illini, really impressive. They're going to rely on the three. They've got funk, the power of funk from the perimeter as well. They could shoot it. I'll tell you what, guys, they're going to be in a lot of games because of their perimeter shooting. And Jalen Pickett's a leader. He is a leader. So I'm giving love to Pickett and Penn State on this Monday morning.
His assist rate is second in the country, too.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Fanta.
And that's been a consistent. That's been a consistent throughout his career.
Did you look it up, Robert?
So since 1992, right? There have been 4 players that have averaged. Before Pickett, there were 3 players that finished the season averaging at least 15 points, 7 boards, and 7 assists. I'm going to hit pause on this timer. My guy is rookie counsel. I think that he's kind of turned into like a go-to guy for Arkansas, and I did not see him having this big of an impact. There's an argument you can make that he's been the best one-on-one guy that they have in Arkansas this season. Whatever. I want to play this game now. Can you name the 3 guys that average at least 15 points, 7 boards, and 7 assists since 1992? It's all happened since 2015. Okay. There's 3 other guys. Can you name them? Can you guys get them?
No, I can't.
I'll give you a hint. One of them beat out Buddy Hield for National Player of the Year in 2016. Played for Michigan State. His brother coaches Loyola Chicago.
Oh, Valentine.
Oh, Denzel Valentine.
Valentine. That same year, played for BYU. His last name sounds like he is the son of the color commentator for NBC's Sunday Night Football broadcasts.
Yep.
Nothing. Kyle Collinsworth.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The last one knocked off Virginia in the first round of the NCAA tournament as a 13 seed in the COVID year. Went viral because as a high school senior, he averaged 2 points.
Preston.
Jason Preston. So
Jalen Preston from Ohio.
Jalen Pickett joins the list of Jason Preston, Denzel Valentine, and Kyle Collinsworth as the only players that have averaged 15, 7, and 7. Assuming he can finish the season doing that. I don't know if he's going to playing in the Big Ten, but that's how impressive those numbers are.
It's crazy because he's basically a 4-man.
Yep.
He's a 6'4", 220-pound 4-man.
Yep. All right. This one is probably going to be pretty easy. I don't think we need 4 minutes on it, but player of the year. Is it anybody other than Zach Edey? Can you put together a coherent argument to make that it's someone other than Zach Edey right now?
No, there isn't one. He's the clear player of the year.
Without question.
Yeah, like we don't even need to spend a minute on it. Zach Edey's been the best player in college basketball thus far. He's evolved. Like that's the other thing. It's not just that he returned and he's 7'4", so he's going to dominate. I think his feel for the game's only gotten better. Him as a passer is pretty impressive. I just, you have to give him that award right now. Absolutely.
You want to know what I find so impressive about him?
7'5".
Well, yeah. I mean, he's that big. He's that. I think immobile is probably the way that I would phrase it. But he doesn't foul, right? Like you don't really see him get into foul trouble. Yeah. And here's the other thing that I think is really impressive. He's averaging like 31 minutes a night. This isn't a 7-footer that's coming in and playing 23, 24 minutes. You know, he's in really good shape. He played 43 minutes against Nebraska.
Yep.
43 minutes for a guy that's 7'4", 290 pounds. Like that's, we've talked to enough big guys. John Henson, Patrick Young both talked about this on After Dark. The way to, if you want to beat him, if you want to stop him, if you want to find a way, Geo Baker, who's beaten Purdue a bunch of times.
Patrick Young, not Patrick Ewing. Did you say Patrick Ewing?
Yeah, I said Patrick Young.
Oh,
did I say Patrick Ewing? Yeah, I might have said Patrick Ewing.
You might have. I might have just
meant Patrick Young. I meant Patrick. I know I wasn't talking about Patrick Ewing. Although he might, at this rate, he might end up being an analyst on the field of 68 next season.
Be careful.
No, they both said the way to beat Purdue and the way to like take Edey out of the game is you got to run. Make him run, put him in ball screens, get him tired. That dude played 43 minutes against Nebraska. I don't think you're going to get him tired. All right. Coach of the year. Who we got? Tio, I'm going to you first on this one. National Coach of the Year as of today.
Painter. I'm staying with Purdue. He's meshing all these young players around Zach Edey and right now, there's not a team better. Right now, there's not a team better than Purdue. The way he's been able to get some of those young guys in the fold and is comfortable so quick in the season, I think it goes to him.
Fanta?
I
would like to just say for the record that T.O. got that answer wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was the one last night that I was thinking about in bed. Yeah, I know. I was thinking about who the coach of the year was. I'm going to go outside.
Don't worry.
Hey, that's what happens.
My coach of the year, I think about him when I'm in bed too. I promise you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. There we go. This is a safe space. Can I go totally off the map?
Yeah.
Yes, please do it.
It's the best kind.
College of Charleston's Pat Kelsey.
I like that one.
Gets a vote from me. They have had a terrific season. They have a win over Mike Young's Virginia Tech Hokies, winning the Charleston Classic for the first time ever. Guys, there's a legitimate case for them to get an at-large. Like that's how good they've been. If you take a look at where they stand right now, they were the second team out of the AP poll as well last week. They could end up being ranked. Their guard play between Rain Smith and others has been really good. They've got a bunch of different guard options, and they spread the ball. They can shoot the three. I really like the way that they've played. They've got a kid named Ante Brzovic, who's been a nice role player for them as well. They're incredibly efficient. And guys, Pat Kelsey has had an interesting career arc. I don't know how much longer he's going to be the head coach at College of Charleston, because I think he's a really good coach and he's got that community going. Like, he's really got that community reinvigorated with everything that they're doing down there. They're a team to watch.
They got the NIL flowing.
They got the NIL flowing, guys. Like, there's a really good case for Pat Kelsey here. And if he doesn't get the biggest award, he's going to get some recognition if College of Charleston keeps this up. So I go down with the Cougars, and they're a team to watch. They're a mid-major that if they make the CAA final and do what they're supposed to, guys, that they could end up still getting consideration for an at-large bid.
Yep. If you want to know why Fanta is so, hold on. If you want to know why Fanta is such a popular personality on television broadcast right now, is because he goes down with the Cougars. Go ahead, T.O.
He's down with the Cougars. I'm down with the Cougars as well. But let's put it this way. That game with the CAA is pretty top heavy. I don't think I'm crazy in stating as much, but that game between Towson and College of Charleston is going to be an electric factory. It's what is it, on New Year's Eve? I was talking to Pat Scarry, and he was like, "Man, I got that game at home during winter break." He goes, "I got to go back down to Charleston in March, and it's just going to be a nut house." I was like, "Yeah." No, excuse me. And February 23rd, Towson goes down to Charleston. Those two games could very well determine a regular season champion.
For sure. And by the way, Dalton Bolin and Ryan Larson are the other guards that I didn't mention yet, but a lot of guard play. And it'll be interesting to see how Towson defensively handles Charleston's guard play, how that ends up working out. I'll tell you what, Pat Scarry's done a great job down at Towson between Nick Timberlake and company. They've
Cam Holden. Thompson, I was about to guess Cam Holden could be that other guy that averaged like 15, 6, and 6 or whatever.
Yeah,
his numbers are insane too.
Charles Thompson as well. So no, that'll be a great matchup. That will be a really good matchup.
Charleston right now has wins over Chattanooga, Richmond, Davidson, Colorado State, Virginia Tech, Kent State, who's top 75 on KenPom right now, and Old Dominion. All of those wins came at home. The smartest thing that Pat Kelsey ever did was go to a place where they host their own MTE that will bring in a whole bunch of big brands like that. So good for him. But I just want to say that so far in this discussion, nobody has named Dan Hurley. And nothing has ever been more evident to me of the anti-UConn bias on the field of 68 because I am a UConn fan than right now. We made it all the way through this conversation.
I gave him love at the beginning of the show.
Dan Hurley's not even mentioned for National Coach of the Year.
He should be.
And definitive anti-UConn bias on the field of 68 Media Network pushing back against me just because I happen to be born in the state of Connecticut. Everybody else hates them. Everybody else is against them. It's clear. It's definitive. I am cutting this clip and I am sending it to the UConn staff so that everybody on that roster knows.
We've been giving them love the whole show.
Clear, definitive, anti-UConn bias, specifically by that man, John Fanta, right there, who's called 27 UConn games so far this year. He's look at his face.
Yeah, everybody's giving UConn love. Dan needs to be in the. How about if that happens and say that'd be 2 Big East National Coach of the Years in consecutive
in a row with Cooley. Look, UConn is Final Four good. I think that they're the best team in the country right now.
Well, let's get into that. Let's transition right now. We're making our new updated official Final Four picks. Fanta, you go first.
Here we go. Arizona, UConn, Baylor. I still like the Bears, guys. Virginia.
I'm not mad at that.
Virginia.
All right.
Poise, the ability to get guard play. And I think that their veteran presence across the board between Beekman and Clark, Jaden Gardner, like I still like UVA. And I think that UVA will win the ACC.
They should.
So
if they don't, it'll be a very disappointing performance. Are they it's Beekman injured? T.O.?
I don't know right off the top of my head. No.
He was banged up in a previous game. They were talking about it. Anyway.
But look, UConn's Final Four good. And the reason is, guys, I don't know how you scout for UConn, and after doing the scout, you believe you've got a good chance to win. Right? I think you're sitting there scouting for them, and I get this sense from others, and you're thinking, we've got to live with this and hope it goes our way to have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know that you're facing a really good team.
Here's what a high major coach said to me. We nailed our scout, and we didn't have a chance. Everything that they wanted to do, they did. And they thought that they did it pretty well.
Who is that?
I'll tell you off the air. I don't want to say it.
No.
I could bet you I know who it is.
What team are we talking about? Sorry.
UConn.
Yeah, of course.
They nailed their scout, and we didn't have a chance.
There you go. That just proves the point. They do not have a drop off. And it's almost like by having guys from 2 to 5 that know who they are, know what their strengths are, know their roles, they don't have to have elite point guard play to win. They just need capable point guard play to win and the point guard to know what he's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Credit to Tristan Newton, who has sacrificed all the scoring he did at East Carolina and is recognizing that he needs to be a distributor on this team and make plays for other guys. And the fact of the matter is this: there's an unpredictability with freshmen. But Alex Karaban came in for the second semester of last year. He learned, he grew, he took on the process. The guy has no social life. It's no knock on you, Alex. That's okay. I didn't have much of one either in college.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that for anything.
Come on, are you kidding me?
I don't believe that.
Are you kidding me, Fanta? We've heard stories. Look, you forget.
You've heard stories, but you can say this.
You can say whatever you want, but I just want you to know, for the record, Dagan Hughes, your friend from Seton Hall, works with us.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just putting that out there.
I'm just putting that out
there. You can't lie to us, baby. You can't lie to us.
Yeah, but for me, college was a little bit like Frank the Tank in old school. Like, I didn't go out every weekend, but then when I did, it ran into some of the the frivolity that you see in old school. Like when his wife hears that he's going out and she's like, "Uh-oh, like you're going out tonight?" We know how that's going to end. It was 0 to 100 real quick, guys. So for UConn, how do we get on this topic when we're talking about UConn? I guess that's what Rob will be at the Final Four.
You said Karaban doesn't have a social life. Neither did I.
I know. Well, Karaban's committed to basketball. Klingon is
nothing else to do in stores.
Klingon could be one and done.
No, I don't think that he will be, just because
I don't think he will be, but he could be.
He's gonna be a first team All-American next year, right?
I'm with you.
The only thing the only reason I say that is because look at all of the great 5 men that have proven more than just doing against LIU, right? I don't think that he's better than Hunter Dickinson right now. I don't think that he's better than Armando Bacot right now. I don't think he's better than Sheway right now. There's just so many.
He's more mobile than all 3 of those guys you just mentioned, though.
Yeah, but it's still
defensive potential is better than all 3 of those guys, and that's what they look for in the NBA.
Yeah. All right,
so, Tio, different there.
Give me your Final Four picks. Wait, did we get all yours, Fanta?
Yes, you did. You got it. So Arizona, UConn, Baylor, Virginia.
Okay, go ahead, Tio.
Okay, Houston, Virginia, UConn, Arizona, and then my 5th being Tennessee, because I just feel like it's time for them to break through.
Did you just give us 5 Final Four picks?
Yep, with the outside looking in, Tennessee. I think they make.
Wait,
I do it with everything we do.
Wait a minute.
We do.
Wait a minute.
I'm a huge extra credit guy.
Wait a minute.
It's the only way. It's the only way.
Hold on a second.
It's the only way I got through college. Given that extra effort.
Give us the.
Wait a minute. You
5 Final Four
wait,
picks.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
Final 5.
I'm sorry. Final 5. You actually think Tennessee is that good?
I think they're close.
Really? I don't see it.
I watched. I didn't see it on television. I watched them in person. I'm like, holy shit, this team is huge, and they can bully people into wins.
I'm worried about not being an elite offense when it comes to being able to make the run to the Final Four. But I will say we have not seen. There's still room for them to grow, because we have not seen Julian Phillips be the guy that we know he can be. And I still think that their guards are kind of figuring it out. Like, they're bringing Ziegler off the bench, right? And we all thought he was going to be a stud. So I think that there's still a ceiling there. I have 2 other SEC teams in my Final Four. So I have UConn making it to the Final Four. I think that they're going to win the national title. I think that they are the best team in the country, and I think that there's a decent margin between them and who's number 2. And I may be entirely biased, right? But I just don't.
No, you're not. But it is what it is. I think they're that good right now too.
Yeah, I don't see a weakness in their game. And I think Andre Jackson is the single most underappreciated player in college basketball, and the single most important piece to that group being as good as they are. But that's a different conversation for a different day. I have Arkansas making the Final Four. I just look at them, and there's no other team in the country that I can see that has 4 first-round talents in their starting lineup. I know that Trevon Brazile is hurt. If they had Trevon Brazile, I would probably have Arkansas as my second favorite team to win the national title this year. I think they're that talented. I think Muss is that good. Alabama, I think that they have, when you put together this group with that talent, with that length, with that athleticism, and with that unselfishness, I think that they are going to be able to find a way to get it done and make it there. And then I'm with you guys. I have Arizona. I can't watch them and not envision that offense putting up 90 points every game until they get into the Final Four. So that's my Final Four picks. Do you guys want to name a national champion? Are you going with anybody other than UConn?
Right now, no. Arizona would be right there, but right now, no.
So we officially just jinxed it. UConn is losing in the second round of the NCAA tournament since we won the national title.
Arizona. I'll pick Arizona then.
I don't know. I'll tell you.
We're a month.
One of the things that Kelvin Sampson said to me a couple of weeks ago is that his team's going to lose. Like, he legitimately said, my team's going to lose. He goes, but I kind of want us to lose a game. He goes, I want us to lose. I want us to experience losing. I want us to go through it. Because here's the thing, guys. There's just not many chances that Houston's going to lose in the American. There's not. So I think going into March, we're going to be talking them up, because they could legitimately reel off like 15 wins in a row, and I wouldn't be shocked this year in the American. However, I'm still bullish on them. And I think the key is what you said at the top of the podcast, Rob. Marcus Sasser's got to be back to Marcus Sasser for me to think of them as that.
Mm-hmm.
But my gut all year has said Houston or Baylor. I don't know why Baylor. I still really like their makeup. I think they had a terrible showing at Marquette. I think they had a bad night, and I think it was a bad night. But I think Keontae George just opens up a different dimension of that team, and he's been one of the best freshmen in the country. So We haven't talked about the team that, like, nobody's got Alabama in their Final Four. Oh, you do. You do have Alabama.
I like Alabama making the run. But listen, we've been here. I think
you have your work cut out for you today with cutting this thing down.
Trust me, it's not the first time I've had to deal with this before.
Yeah, you work with a guy named Goodman. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, Goodman will record an entire podcast. Will send it to me and be like, listen, you got to figure out. We talked about I have this one sentence in the middle of it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but you got to make sure you cut it out. And it's just like, okay. Thanks, Jeff. Anyway, listen, this has been the DTF podcast. It was different than what I thought it was going to end up being. Hopefully we'll have more information on other situations by the time we talk on After Dark tonight. But I will tell you this, it was a lot of fun talking through some of the superlatives from the first month. It was a fantastic first month of college basketball. I don't think I could be more excited for what we have in store the rest of the season. It's going to be slow the next couple of weeks. We got finals. We have Christmas coming up. Next episode, I'm going to get John Fanta to give me the definitive ranking for the best Christmas songs there are. So it's Fanta. You might want to start preparing for that right now. Before Terrence Oglesby, for John Fanta, I was Rob Dauster. This is the DTF Podcast.